So I am going to be putting in my own 220 system into my panel, my main panel, and I also decided to 3D print my own box meter.
I see you have constructed a new
Power meter.
Your skills are complete.
So I have it printed out. I have the tab right in here screwed on, the cover plate, the 10-2 wire, which has a ground in it, so there's 3 wires in it. I have the socket, and I'll put a zoom up picture of that on the screen, what it is and the specifications on it. And then here's the digital meter as well. And then over here, with the digital meter, it doesn't come with the 2 wires you need to connect it to the hot wires. So what I'm using is a 22 AWG wire, which is rated for 300 volts. So this should be sufficient for what I need it for. The only thing is it's a little bit on the smaller side. So I have to figure out if I can really attach it to the. I'm gonna get started in putting this together. So first thing I did was put in the 3/8 clamp connector type. These are pretty cheap to get, but basically you screw them out and you make sure that there's no toggle with the 10-2 wire. Also be sure not to over tighten them. Next thing I did was strip the wires. This is me choosing the coil, which coil to use on the 10-2 wire. So I decided to just go over the black wire with these. And then this monitor is it's rated for 80 to 300 volts. So since we're using 220 on this should be fine, or 240, whichever you want to call it. But basically they're both the same thing. Now this is my first attempt, and I ended up using 12 gauge wire. So this came out of a 12-2 wire with ground. So this is me just connecting those. Next, I took the bare copper wire from the 10-2 and I connected it to the green terminal on the outlet. So this outlet is a 30 amp outlet rated up to 250 volts. And I'll put a link in the description below. Next, I connected one of the other wires, the white wire, which is basically a hot wire, and also the terminal to this location. Now, on the monitor, it doesn't really matter which one you choose. They could be, as long as it's getting both hot wires. That's all it needs, because it wants to sense that there's a 220 or 240 voltage here. It's kind of hard to see on this side, but basically what I'm doing is taking the black wire and connecting it on this other side. And then afterwards I shimming this into place so I can screw everything down. So with this design, I did run into a few issues with the location of the wire compared to the meter itself, so later on I'll show what I did to fix that. There it is. That's what it looks like when it's all screwed together with the cover plate and then also the bottom plate as well. Alright, so moving to the panel. The panel is a Siemens SN3048B1200 panel. This is a panel that's rated for 200 amps. So here I'm just using the knockouts and putting in the connector type there, and then also securing that wire. After the wire is secured, I went through and stripped the wires. So I removed the 20 amp breaker. This is a spare breaker, so I didn't need that at this time anymore. And then I put in a 30 amp 2-pole breaker. This panel is still live, so I want to make sure that you guys understand that I am not an electrician, and you shouldn't be doing this unless you feel comfortable. Because of me, I felt comfortable doing this. I've never done this before, but I've worked with other electronics, so I was very careful to make sure nothing was floating around or touching anything. the 2-pole breaker is actually on a shut-off position. You can see that it's pointed to the right, which means it's off. I still use the indicator to see if if it was hot or not. After I connected both the black and the white wire, I secured it with the screw and gently tugged on it to make sure that it's fully secured into those terminals. Afterwards, I turned off everything. I used the indicator to see if there's anything still hot. I unscrewed the ground terminal and connected the bare copper wire, which is the ground wire, and fully just screwed that back in and made sure it was not backing out. Alright, let's see. Never done this before. 220 on. There we go. I'm going to convert this 120 over to 220 on the PDU. But yeah, there we go. It's running. I kind of messed up on the placement of that screw. So the one thing I would have to say is there was some design iterations. I did that in SolidWorks, and this thing's going pretty well now. There we go, it's running 1,600 watts. IVOS says that this is running at 1,300. On the PDU, it's coming in at 6 amps. Wait, no. Yeah, 6 amps. And yeah, it's going well. This thing's holding up. Not bad at all. So, would I recommend this? I would recommend, if you're comfortable working with electrical wiring, you could do this. But if you're not comfortable, definitely do not attempt this, because I could have been killed. No one wants 240 volts going through their body. That would not work out in your favor. But yeah, it's actually twists underneath. I didn't want it in the front because this wire is pretty heavy. It's gonna just sag over time. This is PLA, and PLA does not hold up for long periods of time. So, especially with heat. So I figured bottom loading it and then designing it in the structure where it has lots of support to hold it in. I plan on building another rig on top of this. It's going to be 1660 series, regular, TI, and also supers. Mainly supers, but we'll get there in the next video. Alright guys, thanks for watching.